So, who is this video for? This video is for sales reps who are extremely frustrated and they don't understand how to make their income predictable. You know, it's up, it's down, it's everywhere but where you want it to be. And also the ones who feel like success is eluding them. So, realistically, by this end of this video, you will understand exactly what is the formula for success, because it is a formula and it is very simple. And it's two things that create success, but are extremely overlooked. And by maximizing these two things or putting a great focus towards them, it is how you will create the amount of wealth that you want, how you will make the money consistently, or be able to live the life that you want to live. Now, a lot of people may ask, why am I going to listen to this guy? Well, the thing is, I've helped tons of closers kind of get to a place where they can 2 to 4x their income. They can make 20, 30, 40, 50, $60,000. I haven't gotten to the 70, 80s for my students yet, but for myself, I've been in a place where I've made 80,000 or 88,000. I made 55, 42, or even 66. But the thing is that's over the last 7 years that I've been in high ticket sales. I've had some very, very big months, and these alone aren't it. These are just a few examples of what I've hit. Now, when it comes down to it, there is the first variable, and the first variable is process. Now, I know that might seem really simple, but a lot of salespeople overlook it. And when it comes down to the way that I defined it, I define process as a repeatable set of actions that lead to an ideal outcome. That's all process is. Now, you might be wondering, what two processes do I need? Two processes you need is on the call process and an off the call process. So we're looking at on the call process. Yes, discovery, pitch, objections, tonality, and facial expressions. These are everything that is important within a sales call, and you want to have a process for each. So I know that might feel like really robotic, or I'm not telling you to be scripted. I'm telling you to understand what you need from each call, and to come from a place of knowledge in terms of what you need from each call. So your discovery is one section of the process, and that can be broken up into sections itself, discovery alone. But the thing is if you have this process, you don't need to worry about anything on the call, and you take a lot of the mental fatigue or the cognitive load that will be required for you kind of doing things on the fly when you have an on the call process. You also need an off the call process. Now, a lot of people put a lot of weight towards on the call processes, but without an off the call process, it's very hard to make good money or be successful in any way whatsoever. So what I see as the off the call process is someone's expertise, their ability to follow up, and their referrals. These should be processes that you have pretty ingrained on your offer. So when I say expertise, this should be you really updating yourself on knowledge within your industry. So you're making yourself more and more knowledgeable, something where you actually are an expert, because expertise is what sells in 2026. It's what helps people believe you. If you seem like you know what you're talking about, you're going to be perfectly fine. But if you seem like a salesperson that's just running the sales process kind of in the call, but you don't know what you're actually talking about, if the customer asks you or the prospect asks you a really detailed question that only an expert would know, then you're going to be fucked. And it's going to be hard for them to believe anything that you're saying. And then at that point, you're going to have to go through reframes and objections, and you don't want to do that. So it's really having a process for building up expertise. And for example, also having a process when it comes to follow up and referrals. Like if you know by day 21 that generally your clients or your prospects have a better result by day 21, for example, like in a weight loss offer, if generally by 21 days, usually people are down their first 5 or 10 pounds. I want to reach out to them on day 21 every single fucking time, because if 80% of people lose 10 pounds by day 21, I want to reach out then, ask for a referral, and then set up the stream to constantly keep asking for referrals. Whether it's a cadence or not, you want to understand what are the high points of your offer so that you can get a referral whenever you can. And even if it's only 1 out of 100 people, it's whatever. It's just like, set yourself up for success to get referrals, because that is free money. And also the same thing with follow-ups. Like, do you have a process for follow-up? Or is it just, I'm going to get off the call and follow up with them in like 2 weeks? Or is it a thing where you say to them, I want you to do this, this, and this, and then I'm going to check in with you in about a week, and then we're going to see where you're at with this, and then I'll give you advice from there. So you give them a little bit of homework. You let them experience the program, what it's about, stuff like that. You kind of give them some accountability, and then when you check in with them, it's another chance for you to create a sale. So it's having processes over all parts of just your life and sales. Now, the big thing that a lot of people don't understand is kind of what happens without these. So what'll happen without these is you'll feel like a sales god one day, and then you'll be a bum the next, because you don't have anything to consistently actually make the money. And then the second piece is ranging income month to month. You might have a $15,000 month one month, and you're like, I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did. I promise you, you were following a process. You were showing up in some way that was consistent, and your brain noticed something that was working, and it kept doing it because it got a positive feedback loop every time that it did it. Or you start getting pips due to bad performance. If you don't have a process, it is very natural that you start to run into no man's land where you're getting let go. You're getting threats of, hey, we need to start seeing something. We need to start seeing some numbers because you don't have a way to profitably and consistently bring in the income that you want to bring in. So now you might be wondering, why does this happen? You know, why do I not have a process? It's just because a lot of people think they're better than the process and think they're smarter than having a process that consistently performs. The amount of cognitive load you put on yourself by forcing yourself to come up with shit on the fly is just not it. And anytime you've had a very good month, I promise you, your brain's following a process. You just don't know what you're doing and it's not defined. So you cannot think that you are smarter than the process. And big picture here, how can you fix it? I would say the easiest way to fix this is learn the basics. Any free sales course will give you a process. Like I promise you, you can go do any free sales course and it will give you a process that you can follow. And most likely you'll get an outcome with. Will it be the best? Who knows? Any process works as long as it aligns with you and the way that you like to sell. If it feels natural for you, great. So go learn the process and stick to that. Don't take advice from this guy on YouTube or this guy on Instagram or this guy on Facebook. Decide to do one thing and stick with it and master that one thing. Then after that, don't make changes without sufficient data. If you're someone where you're making all these changes, but you don't have the data to actually know if it's a good change or not, then don't do it. And what I mean by that, by sufficient data, is give yourself time. Take maybe 20 calls before you make a decision to take something out or add something in. And then track that thing, track how it improved, track how it did things differently over the course of even a week. So you can do 20 calls, you could do over a week. I would say don't do anything less than a week, but give yourself 7 to 14 days to actually analyze if this thing worked or if it did not work. Review your own calls. I like this video is super simple, but it's like, if you're not reviewing one of your calls each and every single day, you're purposely leaving money on the table because you're not giving yourself the amount of feedback loops that you actually need to see success as well. So give yourself as many feedback loops as possible to say, this is what works. This isn't what works. This is the response that they give to that. Ooh, I noticed my facial expressions. My facial expressions could have definitely been very different in that scenario there. Or my tonality, I should have shifted that. Oh, during my objection handling, I missed this part of my objection handling framework. It gives you the feedback loops you need to know what parts of your process you're not actually adhering to. So the next piece here is make one change at a time and track it. I know I kind of covered that earlier, but make one change at a time. Don't be a person that switches from thing to thing to thing to thing, or, you notice one thing isn't working that you just added in. So now you're going to add in one more thing and add in one more thing to try and make it work. It's like, dude, do one thing at a time so that you can actually know what made a difference. Because if you change 3 things now, and then 2 weeks later, you're like, my numbers went down. Now you don't even know what to take out because you've added so many different things. Now you have to guess which one is the one to remove and which one is the one to keep. And there's no way for you to really fine tune your process that way, because then at that point you're playing a guessing game. It's not based on data whatsoever. So the last piece is understanding that you are nothing without a process. Like, stop thinking that you are so smart and so great to the point where you don't need a process. You need a process. And the reason you need it is if you want your income to be predictable. If you want to be a person where you can make $40,000 a month consistently and not just $40,000 one month, you need a process that allows you to do that. Whether it's on the call or off the call, you're going to need both as well. If you want help fixing this and you want just to kind of fix your process and get it in a place where there is no confusion about what you're doing or what's happening, then at that point, I have a free school community for you. It's linked in the description. It'll give you the process. If you want extra help, we do group calls in there as well. You can choose that option if you want it. Let's go to part 2. So variable 2, how I define all of this in terms of volume for the equation for success is maximizing your inputs to increase the likelihood of an ideal outcome. So what does this exactly mean? Real world, this means you doing more calls, more dials, more follow-up, more referrals, more, right? And that's more of you doing this process. So you maximize the process now, or you've given your process a lot of wiggle room. You're closing at a good rate. You're getting good results. Now it's time to amplify it. So volume is a multiplicative value of the actual process that you're following. So we want to do as much more as possible, because what happens without this volume is you're never going to have enough data to know what you need to work on. Like if you're if you're trying to test out if this process works better than the other one, but one week you take 10 calls and the next you take two, it's like, how are you going to know how anything works? You can't, because you don't have sufficient data. And also, you'll never be able to produce enough to be a top performer if your volume is inconsistent. If you're not doing the off the call processes, if you're not doing the on the call processes at a high volume as well, in terms of live calls that you're taking, it's very hard to beat someone who's consistently doing 10 calls a day, and then they're doing an hour of follow-up each and every single day, whether it's follow-up, referrals, or expertise. Going to be very hard to beat someone like that, because they're outworking you, to just say it in the least. And too many people put far too much leverage on the ability to outwork versus the ability to actually do a process and then outwork with that process. So I hope that made sense. I hope that made sense. But the next piece here is, why do you lack volume? So a lot of people lack volume due to, one, an insufficient environment, as in the environment around you is just not good. Two, it's calendar management. You don't know how to manage your calendar to allow yourself to maximize your volume, meaning the cadence in which you take calls now drains your energy. So what I mean by that is, if you're taking a call, you take back-to-back calls, you do 8 calls back-to-back, and you're just drained and you're groggy and now you don't feel like taking the calls, then at that point, that's probably not the best way to manage your calendar. Maybe you should do 3 calls and then take a break. Maybe do 2, take a break. It's like, figure out the cadence that works best for you, because yes, you want volume, but you don't want volume at the cost of process efficiency. Process efficiency goes over everything. Mastering your process goes over everything. Like, I want to be super clear about that. Mastering the process goes over everything. There's nothing greater than the process. So the last piece is mental state. This is you taking care of yourself and really a lot of different things. But what I want to go over is kind of how to fix this. So you really do want to structure your environment for success, meaning this kind of goes hand in hand with deleting social media and everything like that. But you want to structure your environment for success. You shouldn't be in a place where social media is so distracting that it's taking away from selling time. You shouldn't be in a place where YouTube's so inviting to the place where you're not actually selling and you're just watching YouTube videos about selling versus actually getting out there and doing things. So structuring your environment for success is making social media harder to access. So maybe get one of the blocks that you have to tap your phone on to unlock social media and put it across the room. Put it somewhere all the way in the living room, somewhere you're not going to want to, go get it. Create a calendar optimized for doing volume. So for me, for example, I like doing maybe anywhere from 4 to 6 calls, taking a 2 to 3 hour break, and then doing another 4 to 6 calls. That's just the way I like doing it on a really high volume month for me. Figure out a way to manage your calendar that's optimized for success, to where your efficiency doesn't drop, but you can do as much output as possible. And that's where you want to be. Everybody's not going to be able to do like 12 calls back to back every single day. Most of the time you have to be manic, or you have to be in a really very, very motivated state of mind pretty much the entire time. And there's no shame in not being able to do that. Like, I want you guys to know, like, that's the 88K month I worked. I didn't work the last week of the month because I was so tired from doing 12 calls day to day, back to back, every single day. If you can't do it, that is, like, don't get down on yourself. Like, it's that you can't sit there and do 12 hours each and every single day. The next piece is deleting social media or making it harder to access. Genuinely, I recommend you just delete it. And if you want to upload or post on social media, do it from your computer, cool, or a third-party software. That's what I'd recommend. It's just better not to have it on your phone. Mentally, you'll be a lot clearer. You'll go to sleep sooner. You'll go to sleep better. And a lot of times you'll be a lot less distracted as well. I want you to challenge yourself in new ways as well. So when I say challenge yourself in new ways, if I could offer you a story, like for me, there was a point in my life where it was very hard for me to just get up and do hard things. I was so bored. It just felt like, whatever, what's the point? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I just didn't have the quote unquote motivation. And the dopamine hack that I learned was just doing hard things physically. So sometimes it's getting down on the floor and doing 20 or 30 push-ups. I still do that to this day between every single call. You do 20 or 30 push-ups, you get up and you take your next call and you're a fucking burst of energy. Or it's going on a run. Going on a run in the morning before your sales day will set you up for so much success. I promise you. It is one of the best things that I've ever done because it makes hard things feel easy. It's like, I just did that extremely hard thing. Now I got to get on a call and talk to people. Who fucking cares? Like, it's nothing. So go on a run, challenge yourself, go do jujitsu, go fight, go do something physical outside of you sitting in this chair or at a standing desk trying to sell people or close people. Go do something outside of that is hard, that is challenging for you, but also causes you to be social outside of sales. The last piece is taking nutrition, sleep, and exercise and supplementation a lot more serious than you currently are. I guarantee there's a lot of you that kind of just order on DoorDash, that kind of just you half-ass your sleep, you lose sleep at the sake of taking sales calls, so you're not even getting at least 7 hours. I promise you, if you sleep more, you will make more money. Sleep more and you will make more money. Give yourself at least 7, 8 hours of sleep each and every single night. Worst case, 6 hours and 30 minutes. That's absolute worst case. Even that's pushing it, but give your body time to recover. Give your body time to just recuperate as well. But also exercise. Again, that's doing the challenging things. You will sell a lot better taking care of yourself, going to sleep for 7 to 8 hours a day, giving yourself also another hour in the day to exercise, and just giving yourself a proper set of nutrition as well. You're going to sell more than the guy that's doing 16 hours a day really inefficiently versus you doing, 8, 10 hours a day really efficiently, to where you can show up, you can run your process at peak the entire day because your supplementation is, your exercises, your nutrition is, everything is, you're going to outperform those people like 100 to 1. I promise you. They can do as much volume as they want to, but you will always catch up, or you will always do better, or be able to do it for a longer period of time because you're taking care of yourself. So please take care of yourself. So when it comes down to it, the bonus variable is mentality. And how I define it is knowing how you want to perceive yourself or your identity. This is not in the entire equation, but I think it's a really important piece of how you identify. So if you see yourself as someone now who you're a procrastinator, that's a label you give yourself, or you're someone who, you get really tired, so you hand off calls or you give up calls randomly or anything like that. What I mean by mentality is changing the way that you see goals. If you see goals as something where it's like, I want to be in a place where if you see goals as like, I want to make $50,000 in a month, it's a lagging indicator. It doesn't matter. Like it's not going to be concrete enough for you to actually know what's required to change that. What is required to change that is a process and volume. So your goal should be strictly process and volume oriented. So for you, if it's like you have 10 calls on the calendar, your goal should be, I want to run my process at 100. I want to run my process at, let's say, 100% consistency. What I mean by that is on that call, you ran your process to a T. If you notice, I actually started to deviate on these last 2 calls. I had 80% process efficiency. Then at that point, maybe see what you did in those 2 calls that caused that. Were they later in the day? Was it just a little too late to where you were tired? You could look at a few things to change here. You could say, well, maybe I should do more push-ups before my calls so that I can make sure I have more energy. Or it's like building in the fix. So your goals shouldn't be numbers oriented or outcome oriented. They should purely be actions and input oriented. And that's it. If you have output goals, or if you have like, this is the output I want, this is the lagging indicator I want, or I want views, I want subs, I want to be able to be the top guy on the leaderboard. All of that doesn't matter, because what makes the top guy on the leaderboard is behaviors and actions and processes and what they're willing to do, the inputs that they're willing to put in. If you match their inputs with a process that is efficient, you will get to where they want to be. And that's why I say the variable for success is process times volume equals success. So like, there shouldn't be any confusion about this. Like this doesn't happen without me having a process where I can do it because I've done it multiple times. And then also having the ability to understand what allows me to do extreme amounts of volume. So if you want the formula for success, it's process times volume. It equals success. It equals you being able to get to the top of the leaderboard, you being able to be the person that you want to be as well. And the thing that separates those people is the people who don't have a process and the people who aren't willing to do volume or change their structure so that they can be successful. So either way, your mentality around goals and the way that you show up is, if you want to be the guy that's first, if you want to be the guy that's at the top, that's making the most money on your offer, that's able to take care of his family, think about inputs. The outputs are great for internal motivation, and you should never tell people those things, but it's always about the inputs that you put in, because that's how you get there. That's how you get there, is having an efficient process and doing enough volume to where it's impossible for you not to succeed. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. Again, if you want a little bit deeper help with this, join the school community. There's a ton of free content in there, posts in there. I go over discovery, pitch, objections, everything you would need to know completely free. And then if you want a little bit more deeper help, at that point, we do group calls. You can choose that as an option in there. Let me know. Either way, I wish you guys the best. If you need anything, reach out to me in school. DMs is a great way to reach me. And I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.